Leo Luera with the Orange County Realtors. I've been employed with the Orange County Realtors since 2007. I've held a number of different positions with the board, whether it's membership, super key specialist, and also an office trainer. Right now, we're only doing office trainings via webinars because of the pandemic and because we don't want to get sicker or sick from COVID. And here's my information. My email is leo@ocrealtors.org. My phone number is 714-375-9313, and my extension number is 239. You don't have to worry about writing this down if you don't want to, because it's just being recorded, and we'll send this recording over to you with the next couple business days. So our breakdown of the things that we're going to cover. We're going to cover the mutually exclusive checkbox field. Sounds like a bunch of syllables, but when I show you, you'll be like going, oh, I get it. Auto adding addendum, text overflow addendum, clause manager, creating a listing transaction with RPR, and share function. So, mutually exclusive checkbox field. So for a lot of us, we took some college courses, and one of those college courses was logic. For some people, it's just like, what? So you're going to have maybe bad memories of this. So in this example, it's if A, not B. An example would be, if it's an all-cash offer, then you can't have loan information in it. Okay, so that makes sense. So they're paying all cash. You can't have loan information on any of the contracts. So we're going to go to page 1 of the RPA, section 3A and 3E. So we're going to go into the transaction. And this is the transaction we created earlier today within zipForms. And we'll go into the documents. And we'll go into the residential purchase agreement. And then we'll slowly go to that one page. Then I'll zoom in to make it a little bit easier to see as well. There it is. Okay, so 3A, 3B. Okay, so here's 3, and here's the terms. So if an individual is going to be financing, they're going to be the purchase amount. If it's going to be all cash, then we click that button. So once again, let me show you what happened. If I click the button that says all cash, and look at this, all down here, this is loan amount and all that fun stuff. If I click all cash, all of this disappears. Once again, it does it on purpose, because if it's going to be all cash for the purchase price, you can't have any loan information. That doesn't make sense. It's either all cash or you have to finance some of it. So this is an example of that. And there'll be a few other places that you will see that it's going to be either A or B. It can't be A and B. So that's an example of what we call our logic class example. So that is a mutually exclusive checkbox field. So sometimes if you click a box, you're like, whoa, what happened to all those other fields? Well, there's a reason why those disappeared. Auto adding addendum. If you click that you will be including a form, then zipForms will add that form automatically. We're going to go to page 4 of the RPA, property addenda and advisories. And if we accidentally add one, then we can uncheck it, but I'll show you the steps involved for that. So back here, we are back in the wow, the RPA is really added a lot of stuff. Oh, goodness gracious. Section 4. So if I were to click the button, say SBSA, Statewide Buyer and Seller Advisory. If I click that, it says here that it's been added. And do I believe that? Sure, I do. Let me double check. And then we click here, and we see that, yes, it's been added right there. See, statewide buyer and seller advisory. And if you're looking for like, what does that mean? What is let me see the title of it. Okay, well you can see the title right there. Statewide buyer and seller advisory. So that's been automatically added to the list of contracts that you need for this transaction. And why was it added? Because in the RPA contract, we chose to add it in section 4. So just give me a quick moment to get section 4. And there it is, statewide buyer and seller advisory. And once again, if you need any of these added or removed, you can do that. Like let's say if I click probate and I went, oh, I shouldn't have clicked probate. Let me go ahead and uncheck mark that. Well, if we go back to our form, see, I unchecked it, the probate advisory, you will see that it's still there. So you have to manually get rid of it. So how do you get rid of it? You can either click that button to get rid of it and click delete, or you can just choose the drop down button and then click delete, the third one down. And it says, are you sure you want to delete it? Yes, I do want to delete it. And now it's deleted. So now I can review my RPA and just choose whatever other forms I need in a given situation. Now, this doesn't happen in every contract that you're going to go through. There's just some contracts that that will automatically add forms if you need it. So this is one of those nice little tips, because in the past you would click it and then you have to manually add it, which it just seemed bad that you had to go through that extra step. But somebody thought ahead and was like, okay, if you really want that form, you click it and it automatically adds it. So that's the auto adding addendum. The text overflow addendum. Now the text overflow addendum will automatically add this particular addendum when the text is more than the display field. The TOA, text overflow addendum form, will be added to the end of the documents list. It will display the contract page and the section, can be used in any contract requiring text. Will automatically add more TOA forms if the first page is full. We're going to look back at the RPA contract, page 2, section G2. And this will also work for it will also work in agent visual inspection. Boy, my mind. So the agent visual inspection, you can type away with your heart's delight of what is necessary. Maybe I missed it. And when in that section, agent visual inspection, you want to make sure that you include all that information that needs to, so that way it will automatically populate. When we tweet something, it's only 140 characters. Well, you don't have to worry about that here. So let's start off with start. And I am going to just type letters like crazy. And it's just going to be, I'm just eating up space. See, they're just numbers. And they have no value. I'm just showing you how I'm going to burn up all this space. See, I'm almost at the end. Oh, there it keeps on going. See, I'm just typing up a bunch of numbers. Now, in your real life situation, you're putting in all the information in there, and you're not worried about, oh my gosh, do I have to drop the or hyphenate something here, or how am I going to do it? You don't have to worry about that. I ended it with end. You would just type as much as you want to. So I'm finished. And if you see, the word end has disappeared because honestly, I typed too much. I typed so much information that it is no longer appearing on that section. How do I know? There's a TOA form that appeared over here. On the top right is the button that says preview. So you can see preview. And this will preview everything you've typed up so far. And you make the change. You can just take a look and we'll go from there. So give it a moment to think, because it takes a while. We want to make sure we did the right thing. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's G. Additional finance terms. C, text overflow addendum. CAR form TOA paragraph 1. So the nice thing is that, let me go back, let me go all the way to the bottom. The nice thing is that you can keep doing this and it'll keep adding more information onto the TOA form. If you've gone so far that you've passed up, if you filled up this entire page of Addendum 1 of the TOA form, then it'll automatically will add another TOA form. So you'll have a TOA form, a text overflow addendum number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on. So you don't have to worry about the restrictions of how much space is available. And you see that it started with a start and it ended with an end. So there's all the information that I required for that one section within the RPA form. So the text overflow addendum. So it's one thing that you don't have to worry about. If you were trying to write it on a piece of paper with the old RPA forms, yeah, that would be a lot of hyphenating and trying to figure out how to do that. The beautiful thing is the text overflow addendum takes care of that for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So write to your heart's content with that. Now with the, so that is, and there'll be a couple other places that you may see this, but I'm just giving an example of text overflow addendum. Clause manager. You know, we're going through this like crazy, but did you have any questions about any of the things I covered, like the mutual exclusive, if A, not B? Auto adding addendum, if I click a button, it's going to automatically add an addendum. Text overflow addendum. Text overflow addendums, write to your heart's content. Write as much as you want to. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to say that the pause, I can give you a little bit longer pause so that we can say yes, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, if this is something that I do encourage you to practice on your own when you create your fictitious documents, fictitious transactions, not documents, transactions, and practice doing this on your own so that we could see that it automatically does this. Okay. Long pause means no questions, so we'll move on. Clause manager. Clause is a manager is a clause is a verbiage that may be used for. Sorry about that. May be used for often needed forms or for forms that are rarely used but require specific wording, like probates. How many probate transactions you're going to do? You want to get the right wording, and that can be given to you by either your broker or the CAR legal hotline. Or whatever source that you have to that's needed to put in a specific space on a form. So put in all the clauses that you need. Whenever the time arises, you pull it up and automatically populate it. The personal clauses are ones created by the user, us. Library clauses are from the broker. So if the broker has a broker edition, then the broker can create those clauses, and that way you have access to it. The broker edition is an extra fee that brokers have to pay for, and you have to log in through their account in order to have access to it. So it behaves a little bit differently, but that's why the library clauses are different than personal clauses. The great majority of us, we're going to be using the personal clauses. We have access to that. We will focus on personal clauses. We're going to show you how to create a clause. It's going to have a category, clause title, clause wording. And then I'm going to show you something about the pencil icon. So let me show you that. Clause manager. Clause manager. So I go into transactions, and then I go into transaction tools right over here. Yes, it worked. The first clause it didn't work. I was nervous. Clause manager. So I click clause manager, and once again, the library clauses are for brokers. Personal clauses is what we are going to focus on. So I'm going to create a new clause. So the category, the first time that you go through this, you're going to have to create categories. First one is going to be a buyer. And then clause title, responsibility of seller. I'll make buyer. Okay, of course, this real life scenario is not going to happen to you. This is just showing you how to use the software. So please, please, please don't put this in your contracts. But I'm just showing you how to use the software. Okay. Buyer responsible at time closing to provide cookies. Buyer is responsible at time of closing to provide cookies to seller. See what I mean? You're not going to use this in your real life scenario, but I'm just showing you how to use the software. Of course, you're going to be putting whatever verbiage, whatever information that you need to, that has to come up from time to time, or that happens on a regular basis in a certain section within a contract, you're going to create that clause. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds of clauses. But right now, I'm just creating one to show you how to use the software. Let me create a new one. This is for the seller. Responsibility of seller. The seller is responsible at time of closing to provide milk for all guests. I know, it's not going to be a real life scenario, but you get the idea. You're going to put verbiage, once again, that is going to be used, and you're going to put a lot of clauses here. And why do we use the clause manager? It's going to be a lot of work in the beginning, but it's going to save you a lot of time and energy down the road. Because just like we did in the template in the first class, if it's something that repeats over and over again, then it's just easier to put a template together of forms and auto-populates it. This, you're going to put the clauses together, and it's going to auto-populate it in the spot that we need them. So I'm going to close this up. We're going to go into that transaction and see how to import those clauses into a transaction, or into a document, I should say. So we're going to look at the agent, the RPA contract, and well, we're going to just choose a section really. Other terms. So here we go. So when I click under other terms, I know that closing should be somewhere else, but I'm just showing you where to put an example of a clause. Every time I click in a field, like it's going to be here or here, a pencil shows up. So if I click the pencil icon has the clause manager icon, and I'll explain what these are in just a moment. But if I click the clause manager here, it says buyer, responsibility of buyer. Buyer is responsibility of time of close to provide cookies to seller. I scroll down and I insert it right there. And then if I wanted to add the second clause, by clicking the clause manager, switch from buyer to the other one, seller, responsibility of seller, scroll down, click insert, seller's responsible at time of close and provide milk for all guests. See? So it automatically populates those clauses into this particular spot. It's whatever verbiage that your broker, CAR legal, or whatever, whoever's advised you to fill out this section that you'll need. So, and it will show up. And now one thing I do want to show you, and if I click it again, this section, you'll see that the capital letter is, I've capitalized buyer and I've capitalized seller. If I click the pencil icon once again, it gives me different choices. So if I wanted to emphasize every word with a capital letter, I can do so. So see, every word now has a capital letter starting with it. Buyer is responsible at time of closing. So I'm talking like, William Shatner for a second there. So seller is responsible at time of closing to provide milk for all guests. If you want to de-emphasize everything, then by clicking this one, all in lowercase letters, then everything is in lowercase letters, as you see. If I wanted to emphasize everything like I'm screaming at somebody, which I'm not going to scream because I'm too sick to scream, then every word, every letter there is capitalized. If you wanted to go with the first format where I capitalize the first letter of every word, the first letter of every sentence, then you can't. That's the unfortunate part. But you can go back to capitalizing the first letter of every word. So that's the clause manager, and that's using the pencil icon to make changes of emphasizing and de-emphasizing a certain section. So that way people it'll be easier for them to see those instructions. And if you want to see a preview of it, page 3 of 16, we'll wait for it to pull up and populate that information, and I'll show you what it looks like on the preview. So as you can see that the tips are, it's a time saver. Really is a big time saver. Almost there. There it is. Buyers responsible at time of closing provide cookies to sellers. Sellers responsible at time of closing provide milk for all guests. So that is an example of using your clause manager. Once again, the clause manager is found under the heading of transactions. Oops, let's go back to transactions. Transactions and transaction tools. There's your clause manager. Excuse me. Let's see, the next thing on our list to do is creating a listing transaction using RPR. Anybody have any questions about the clause manager that we just covered? Milk and cookies sounds pretty good, but not right now for me. It's just fluids for me right now. Okay, so no questions about clause manager, which is fine, because you get the idea. Templates saves a lot of time. Clause manager saves you a lot of time. You just have to put the work at the beginning, and it'll save you a lot of time in the long run. Now we're going to be creating a listing transaction using RPR, the Realtors Property Resource. The Realtors Property Resource was created long ago and allows you to search for properties nationwide. At the very least, it'll pull in tax information. But locally, it'll pull in tax information, loan information, school information, comps, and estimated values of the property. It's dependent on the MLS service that governs that area if they're data sharing with RPR. So the realtor-only benefit, the Realtors Property Resource, can be accessed through different ways, through the website of narrpr.com. It can be accessed through, I like going through zipForms. And if we go to zipForms, let me show you through zipForms. First thing I would say is, opening this up, not zipForms, CRMLS. Yeah, we can go through zipForms, but you have to link your CRMLS account with RPR. So I would say do this beforehand. Click this RPR icon, and you have to link your MLS ID with your RPR account. RPR account is going to have its own separate username, separate password. So you'll do that. You'll need your 9-digit NERDS number ID as well, because it's a realtor-only benefit. So your 9-digit NERDS number is your realtor number, which is different than your 8-digit DRE license number. If you need your 9-digit NERDS number, contact the association. We can help you find that. So one link of it will be found here. But within zipForms, I'll show you where it's at. And that's under Transactions. So under Transactions, we click View RPR. So I'm going to RPR right now, as we speak. And I've already linked it. I've already linked my RPR to my zipForms, to my CRMLS. So do take some time and energy doing that. And there's some information about how to use it under Learn. They have their own blog, and the blog has a number of different videos that will teach you how to use it. But let's go over. Let's go over the information about. Let's look for one particular place. 2316 Hill Lane. 2316 Hill Lane. Now, when I was just a little baby, Mom and Dad bought this house right before I was born. and they bought this house in Redondo Beach for $17,000. Let me close that up. And this house, it's a modest house. It's a one-story. Well, it's on a hill, so it's mostly just a one-story, but then it has a basement because the hill goes down, and then we had a basement down there for storage. It was kind of cool. It was the coolest house. And when it wasn't foggy, which was most of the time, you actually can see the beach. You know, pretty decent shot. And then my big thing was the Goodyear blimp. Okay, but that's a long story. When it would go by. So the house was bought for $17,000, 2316 Hill Lane. The price of that house has gone up a little bit to $1.6 million. $17,000 to $1.6 million. Yeah, you know, Mom and Dad sold the house back in 1979 for $68,000. And you know what? Honestly, that was a lot of money. And they thought they made a great killing on that. Made a lot of money, and that took care of us going into the new house that we moved to. So that was great. This particular house, 5-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,048 square feet, 7,500 square lot. And actually, the people that bought it, David and Karen, they're still there. So this gives you some information, and if there's been any changes, you can go over and update that information. Where will this information go? Nowhere. It'll stay only in your profile. So it's not going to populate anywhere else. So if they've made changes to the house, you can make the changes here if you wanted to. Schools, yeah, you better have good schools in that area. It's an A+ schools in this area. Livability, you know what? There weren't a lot of markets to walk to. There was only one elementary school that was close. So, you know, that was kind of a downer, but it was nice. So it gives you information about the property values in the area. It gives you some other information. Walkability score, we just talked about, the homeowner, APN number, etc. And then there's loan information further below. How do we use RPR to do a transaction? So if I was talking to David and Karen, and they were interested in selling this beautiful home to me, actually selling those, just selling this property, then I can be able to use RPR. So if I'm representing them as I'm the selling agent, and I want to put it into MLS. First, I need to do a contract with them. How do I do that quickly? Well, in RPR, I can connect with zipForms. And here I am. I'm going to start a new zipForm transaction. And I have the choice. So select the choice. Am I representing a listing, a purchase, or a lease? In this case, it's representing a listing because we're going to sell this property. So it says here you have successfully created this transaction in zipForms 2316 Hill Lane. And then it goes through a little bit of a pause before it goes there. You can click continue if you wanted to, or you just wait a moment before it automatically goes to zipForms. I think your first time that you're doing this, it will ask you to put in your CAR credentials for zipForms to link your RPR account to your zipForm account. And as you see here, under transactions in zipForms, I have the listing information. I have the address of the property. I have a lot of information that I could have pulled from different resources and cut and paste, including the APN number, but it's here now. So I don't have to do the cut and paste for a lot of it. A lot of it's all there. Now I just go through the process of filling out this information. HOA dues, there's no HOA dues. Parties, of course, we have just the homeowner, David. I can add Karen if I wanted to. So I pull up David's information. There is his first name, his last name. I can pull in put in an email address. There we go. And save it. So yeah, so there's the information for David. And then I can pull in documents and start the process of all forms, just like I did in the very first class. Cover sheet, except this one I want to do a residential listing agreement. I guess I could do a, what's that, a TDS, I think, form? Yes. SPQ, I think. whatever forms that you need. Seller's property questionnaire. Um, whatever forms that you need, you would put that into here. Let me just take a look at this form real quick. See if this was the one I was thinking about. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So, so this is the so now I've created a whole transaction. Of course, you're going to add more documents in here, and you're going to go over it with David and Karen and help them sell that home. If you're looking for the transaction, we can go back, and then there it is, 2316 Hill Lane. And if we go into it, we can see in the summary. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we'll fill it out and go over that together with David. And then all that information. See, all the information is necessary there. Sorry. Okay. So that is how you create a transaction within RPR. So, and as you can see, that RPR is a great tool. It truly is. I mean, if you ever get a chance to, I do encourage you to spend some time using RPR, watching the webinars. It does more than just create transactions in zip forms. If you wanted to take a look at the history, there's not a lot of history on it since Dad sold it to them and Mom and Dad sold it to them, and that was it. But it can give you some information about trends in the area. Neighborhood, CMA. You can do a CMA through zip forms. So take a look at the tools that you use for your CMA that you do with other tools, and take a look at RPR and see which one appeals to you best. And because obviously, when you're trying to pitch the information over to a potential client, you want them to be wowed by you, knowing that you're going to be able to do the job and get the place sold. If you wanted to take a look at a property outside of California, you can be able to do so. It'll pull up some information, and I showed this one in the first class, I believe. 18.5 million, yeah, a small little house, 5 bedrooms, 7 baths. You can adjust the filters and choose whatever you want. It doesn't have as many filters as we used to in CRMLS, but it has some filters, so you can narrow it down. So once again, this is RPR. So do take advantage of it. It's a free benefit. Now the next thing, so we covered RPR, and the next thing left is the share function. Now, any questions before we go to the share function? The share function is also a great tool because we're supposed to be sharing. I know, kind of darky, but no, the sharing function is great, and I'm going to show you why. The share function, let's get, for starters, no questions, okay. The share function allows agents to discuss the forms with other agents, clients, and other parties. And in this example, we're going to be acting as though we're taking care of David and Karen selling their home. So we're going to talk to David. It's going to be compatible. It's compatible for video and audio chats and screen shares. So if you're in a situation where you're working with divorcees, it'll be easier to separate the two and discuss what you need to with each party, one at a time. So that way it doesn't become explosive. So you can be able to use those functions in there. It deters wasted time, energy, going back and forth due to misunderstandings, oversights, etc. And I'll show you that in just a moment. If you're working with a mentor, this is a great way for a mentor to be able to work with you to make sure you're filling out the contracts correctly. And then if you become a mentor, it also helps you share these forms back and forth with your new agents, so that way they understand how to go over the contract process efficiently with their new clients. And you can share multiple contracts in multiple forms. So let me get out of this, and let's take a look at the share function within zipForms. Now, first of all, where is the share function? Okay, so first of all, we have to be in transactions. So let me hit transactions. I'm going to go in this particular transaction, the one from 2316 Hill Lane, because we just created this just a moment ago, and this is the perfect one for me to share. I'm going to go, I have to go into parties. I have to go into parties. Now, you see the icon there says share, and then over here, it's the same icon, but it doesn't say share. So, either one is fine. So if I click here or if I click there, it's going to be the same thing. So if I click here, I can now, let me just kind of make it a little bit easier to see. I can now be able to allow David to edit the forms. I can upload the forms, and he doesn't really need to view the history. I have a stop sharing date. Now, I am going to change that because I am someone who doesn't like to waste a lot of time. I'm an agent that has things to do. So, today's August 11th. I want this done by Saturday because I'm going to work with David. I've been talking to David. David knows the sense of urgency that we're going to sell this property. So we're going to be looking at, I'm sharing just the TDS, the transfer disclosure statement. Just that one, and that's it. I'm not going to go any further than that because you'll get the idea. I'm just showing you how to use the software. And I know that it shows his last name than his first name here. It's going to repeat itself later. But that's one of the things about RPR. Okay? To David, and then Hill Lane. Leo the Wire has invited you to collaborate on documents. So, and then send. So you're going to be on the phone with our dear friend David, and you're going to say, David, I've sent you some document. I sent you a document that we need to go over, and I'll explain how to use it. And that way, if there's any questions about it, we can address it immediately. So this is David's. Okay, fine. So David goes to his Gmail account, because David has Gmail. Could be Hotmail, whatever. But David opens up his email account, and mind you, David has access to a computer. He has access to email. And he's comfortable allowing correspondence going back and forth. So if David is one of those individuals that doesn't have a computer, doesn't have an email address, none of this can be done. You can't share with someone who doesn't have a computer or doesn't feel comfortable with a computer or doesn't have an email address. So just an FYI. Okay, so David is open up the email, and I say, David, go and click the icon that says View Documents. So he does. And first thing that David's going to be sent is like, sign up for a Zip Community account. Now, in the prior classes, we said, you don't have to if you don't want to. But in this situation, David does have to sign up for a Zip Community account. A Zip Community account allows us to be able to share the documents in this forum. So that way we can avoid any problems, any misunderstandings, or any errors. So I would recommend David not to use Facebook, not to use Google+, because those entities don't need to know that my client is doing any real estate transactions. They don't need to get that data. I don't know what data they would have access to, but I don't want them. I just want to protect my client. So I'm going to say, David, please click the button that says Create an Account. David does. And yes, I cannot alter the first name or the last name. That's just automatically popped up. They recommend a user name. David can alter it. Yes. Or you can write Redondo Beach. Okay. I know. I remember. I skipped out some letters. Email address. Create a password. And the password has to have at least one number, one letter, mixture of uppercase, lowercase numbers, have one special character. Do not commonly use passwords such as password. So, let me just do, okay, and then okay, and let me have him create an account. Now, because I've used the same email address over and over again as practice, I'm going to see this message, but you're not. nor will David. There is an existing Zip community account associated with this email address. When you're practicing doing this, you just say continue with this email. So just give me a heads up on that, and then create the account. I messed up, did I? Okay, let's try again. I got it. Okay. Okay, almost done. Yay, party, hand clap, yay. Okay, so now for you, when you practice sending this to yourself, I would recommend that you download that and print this so that way this is readily available for you to go over with your client in case your client has a question about it. If your client is not going to accept the terms, we can't go any further. We cannot use the share function. If they're okay with it, and you've gone over this and you've done your fiduciary duty to make sure they understand this, then they can click continue. So you can always print it and save it for you to review. So our dear friend David is like, okay, I'm fine. And then you say, David, go and click documents. There's one document, the real estate transfer disclosure statement. So he clicks it, and then there's this stuff in dark purple. He can't change any of that, no matter what. However, the stuff in light blue, he can change. He can click whatever he wants. He can go over all this information. Yeah, so here we go. Yeah, blah. We got a, let's see, gas supply, boom, yes. Why did it come up with other stuff? Garage attached, carbon monoxide detector. Yes, so on and so on. So he would go over all that. Utility, water heater. Okay, let's say he forgot water heater. Okay, and satellite. Okay, so let's say he did all this fun stuff and forgot water heater. Okay, so Dave will say, okay, I'm finished. And I say, Dave, go ahead and click save at the top left corner. The save icon. Okay, I'm clicking save. So he hits save. Then I, the agent, I am going to now, at the same time he's over there, I am going to go into the transaction, go into documents. I'm kind of refreshing the page, and going into the transfer disclosure statement. And I'm like, let's just see what he's done. Let's just see what he's checkmarked. And I see that, okay, great, he checkmarked all this fun stuff. But I said, hey, Dave, do you have a water heater? And Dave will say, yes. I'm going to say, because Dave, you did not list you had a water heater, gas, solar, electric. So can you correct that? Because you're telling me that you too have a water heater, but in the form you have excluded it. So I'm not telling my client what to check mark and what not to check mark. I'm telling my client, I'm verifying the information with him. So if he has a water heater, I want him to provide that correct information. I don't want him to provide false information when he completes this form. So that's the purpose of this sharing. So our dear friend Dave is going to click water heater and gas. And then, yeah, and then he'll go through the whole process, dishwasher, range, stove, all that fun stuff. Okay, so, and then I would just say, okay, he'll say, I'm done, let me click save. He saved it. I said, thank you. I'm the agent. Now I go back and I go back in to refresh the page. And sure enough, water heater is checked off right there. It's kind of hard to see, but he did check mark the water heater and the other things that were there. So The purpose of the share function is for make sure that he completes this form correctly. That way, once it's completed, I get this copy, and then I can send it out to e-signature for him to sign. Because had I just sent the form over to him with the e-signature, he would have made the mistake of missing the water heater. I would have went through the entire form, the seller's information, then realized, Dave, you did not include the water heater. And Dave will say, oops, I'm sorry. Can we just pencil it in? Like, no, Dave. I have to send this back out to you, and we have to start from scratch for this particular form. And Dave will be sad. Okay, so you get the idea. Because there's a lot of information a homeowner has to fill out. So it's important that we go over this together, make sure there's no misunderstandings, no errors, and then that way at the very end I can send this out to Dave, and Dave can sign it. Now this is true with the forms here. You can also include forms, documents that are not originating zipForms, other PDFs outside of zipForms that you can put in here if you wanted to, and share it with your client. So it's a great tool. I highly recommend this share function. So that way you're saving time and energy again. I can't emphasize that enough. Is that a great tool that you all think that you can take advantage of with your clients? We're raising hands. Yes, Connie says yes. I think that Connie says yes. Thank you for raising hands throughout this. And I really think that you can use zipForms in capacity more than just the documents. You could be able to emphasize, make sure that everything you need in a transaction, notes, etc., is you're both on the same page. So that way there's no misunderstandings. Okay. Any other questions that any of you may have regarding zipForms or these tips that I've given today? See, and once again, I said that these were tips. For some of you, these were advanced tips. But for me, they're just tips that will save you time and energy. Because honestly, that's what I want you to do. I want you to save your time and energy. I want you to devote most of your time to marketing and being there to take care of your client. And once again, this client, like Dave and Karen, this could be the biggest transaction of their lives. So I want you to emphasize more of your energy there. If you have any questions, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the morning, well, I'm asleep, so you can't call me. I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. But you can click Help. Help is there. There's a Learning Center. There's an in-app guided help. And there's Send Us Feedback. There's a guided help right down here as well, so it'll answer your questions for you. And also there is, I'm going to pull this up, this document here. This is something I threw together. This is from zipForms. Now, the CAR support is open Monday through Friday, I believe from 9 a.m. till Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 4:45 p.m. and they have limited hours on Saturday. But their phone number is 213-739-8227, so you can give them a call for assistance. ZipLogix, parent company of zipForms, owned by Lone Wolf. Their phone number is 586 area code 840-0140, and they're open weekdays 24 hours, weekends from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. our time. And when I say 24 hours, that's excluding holidays. The CAR Legal Hotline, that's available to you because you want to make sure you provide your NERDS number, your 9-digit NERDS number, which is different than your 8-digit DRE license number. And if you need that NERDS number, you contact the Association for Assistance. That phone number is 213-739-8282. And they're typically open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday from 10 to 2. And if you need additional support on top of that, there is Lone Wolf, 866-279-9653, option 1. And do take a peek at our video library. Our video library will give you, we'll show you some videos. I'll show you. What the heck? Let me show you those videos. So the videos are there to help you with zip forms and other topics. So if I go under Education, under the drop-down menu of Education, I choose the library, the video library, and I see that one of the icons, there's different icons here. This one is going to be zip forms. So if I click see the playlist for zip forms, and you'll see that on our YouTube channel, this will be zip form related topics. So I would recommend that you go ahead and take a look at it. Yeah, there's a tools and tips there as well. The class is taught by myself as well as by Anthony, so you can see his style versus my style. And there's a few things that he'll teach that's a little bit different than my own. I would encourage you to watch both videos because in the long run, it's going to help you make your zip form experience much easier. And when it comes right down to it, it's just practice, 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 just like I had to. I watch videos, especially his videos, and then practice everything that he did in those videos. So once again, that is under our education section in our website, ocrealtors.org. Look at the video library. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, let me go back to that first that first one. There we are. There's me. I'm running out of energy. My email address is leo@ocrealtors.org. My phone number is 714 area code 375-9313, and my extension number is 239. If you happen to call the Laguna Hills location at 949-586-6800, that's okay. Just still dial 239. That'll get you to me. When I do work in the office, I'm working in the Fountain Valley location. But sometimes I'll be working from home, especially like now that I have COVID. Yes. So, any questions from anyone? And once again, I'm so thankful that you joined me today. You could have just watched the videos, but I'm so thankful that you watched this live video with me. And I'm going to be sending out a copy of these videos out to all of you within the next couple of business days. Any questions? Sorry. Well, it did pretty well all day long up until just now. A couple of questions I see. Oh, Young, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Connie, thank you. Take great care. I certainly intend to. I intend to drink lots of fluids and lots of tea, which I've been doing already. I'm just craving a Slurpee all of a sudden. I don't know why. All right. With that being said, I'm going to end the class now. I wish you great success in your future and great success using zip forms. And do reach out to me or any one of those resources if you need assistance for zip forms. Other than that, I wish you and your loved ones a happy and great rest of the day. Thank you very much and have a great day now. Bye-bye.